You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Cricket Podcast, where we have some other business to take care of. We actually have some cricket business today. So we've got South Africa v Pakistan. South Africa wrapping up a 2-0 win there after enforcing a rare follow-on and toiling for a day and a half to pick up the wickets that they needed to win the match. And then we've got Jay Shah with promotion relegation test cricket. Which one do you want to tackle first?
Should we get
Ross,
South Africa done and then move on to
let's stay on the cricket.
Right.
South Africa have now won 7 test matches in a row. Like they literally deserved winners of the league stage.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair enough. In the second test against Pakistan, they racked up 615 runs batting first. Ryan Rickleton, 259. Timber Bavuma notched a century, 106. We were talking about him not scoring enough centuries recently. Well, there's one. Egg on our face, Kyle Verrein. He hit 100. Pakistan, they're opening with Babar Azam now for people who are playing along with what's happening in Pakistan. He actually got a 50, his second 50 of the World Test Championship cycle. So getting some runs in late is Babar. Unfortunately, the rest of the team did fuck all, and they were bowled out for 194. Saeem Ayub absent, hurt. South Africa then enforced the follow-on. Despite there being like 3 days left in the Test cricket, they were like, nah, let's end this now. We'll get a bonus day off. But Pakistan, they had other ideas. Shan Masood, he notched 145 runs. Babar, 81. And it's wrong to say it gave Pakistan a sniff, but it's definitely averted an all-time humiliation. 1 for 205, that's a good score. The rest of the team, they had 270 between them to make sure that South Africa do have to bat again, which they did very briefly, scoring 61 in 7 overs to put the test to bed. But some fight back from Pakistan. That means, as Ross, as you said, 7th win in a row for Pakistan. Not for Pakistan, that'll never happen. For South Africa, South Africa will take on Australia in the World Test Championship final. Max, are you excited about that showdown?
Yeah, I am. It's going to be 2 electric bowling lineups: Rabada, Jansen, plus whoever South Africa roll out. Hopefully, Nortje, but we'll see.
They said he would have played in this Test match, but he's got a fractured toe.
Yeah, I was going to say we'll see what state his body's in by the time it rolls round. But that would be, those 3 lining up against Hazelwood, Cummins, Stark, Boland, whatever combo of that. That'll be tasty and something that I will really, really look forward to seeing. So it should be really, really good contest. And like you said, Ross, fully deserved from South Africa. They've been impressive.
Yeah, and it's been the supporting cast members who have kind of come in, right? Now, there's been that point where people have really stepped up, like Ryan Rickleton coming in and hitting a double century. Like that's insane. I think it was his debut. Well, this is his first time opening the batting, and did unbelievably well.
Like 10 Test debut.
No, the first time opening the batting. That's why I corrected myself. There we go. But even the bowlers coming in have done a great job, and it is one of those bits where this is going to be a really good final. I think we've got tickets to go to the final actually, so it's going to be pretty fun. So
it should be much easier to get tickets than before as well for reasons.
But I think South Africa played some really, really good cricket. Pakistan just bewildered me. Like the guys, was it Noman Ali and what was the bald spinner who did the good celebration?
We'll never hear from him again, will we?
Yeah. Why were they not there? I just don't get it. Like literally, you've got people who've done unbelievably well, and they're not even in the squad. Pakistan is just wild. It's just but they deserved to lose. But I'm glad Shan Masood got runs because he's a guy who doesn't have a very good record, but I quite like him. So.
Zach Crawley.
All right, well, that's South Africa done. Afghanistan, they beat Zimbabwe 7 for Rashid Khan, playing a rare Test match. That was actually quite a good game after the travesty of a pitch rolled out in the first test. So good to see some smaller nations playing, and that does move us on to the cricket business, Max. Jay Shah. Well, I don't know if it's Jay Shah. Let's say it's Jay Shah. Just for narrative, it's easier if it's Jay Shah's idea, isn't it? Jay Shah, what's he saying now?
Well, we're back into the realms of two divisions of Test cricket. It was something that was brought up a few years ago, and ultimately got shot down because for the very fair reason, I think, that we want everyone to get Test cricket, and we want it to be improved for the smaller nations, and that cutting them off doesn't do that. But it's back because England, India, and Australia, what do they want? They want money. And they saw the dollar signs in their eyes when the Border Gavaskar Trophy got record crowds and TV viewing and loads of money. And they thought, oh, well, we'll have more of that, because if that happens all the time, then everyone will go and see it all the time, and we'll always get all the money, because logical thought is apparently something people tend to struggle with to a degree. So yeah, we've got England, Australia, and Jay Shah, independent ICC man, very independent, having a chat about whether we have two divisions. If I assume that means promotion and relegation, it sort of has to. We don't know what size those divisions might be. I think they were talking about 7, which kind of just ends up with the big boys, and then Bangladesh and Ireland and Afghanistan never get to play any proper Test cricket. And well, you can see what I think about it, but that's where we kind of are. The conversations are back round, except whereas before it seemed like it might not go ahead. I think England were in favour of it last time, much to our shame. And Jay Shah is the man putting the talks together, whereas before India were against it, and that was kind of where it fell. This time round, if India are behind it, which you might think they are, because independent Jay Shah is bringing these conversations to the table, it could be happening. So, I don't know. Does the prospect of the Ashes and the BGT happening twice every 3 years, once every 18 months, does that fill you with joy? Are you gleeful, or does it remind you of the old Wizard song?
I don't hate it. I'll be honest. I think that it makes more. I don't really understand why all the teams have to play everyone all the time. And I think, right. So this is I assume is how what they're thinking about. And here I'm making some leaps of faith that they are thinking. You have a top division of 7, which means over 2 years you have 6 Test series or 18 months, or however long these cycles are going to be. You have 6 Test series that are going to contribute to your World Test Championship place, which means you play all of the teams either home or away, which kind of legitimizes the final to a greater extent than you already see at the moment. Then you have another division of 6, 7 teams or 5 teams, or whatever. They can all play each other. There's nothing stopping that. You have promotion and relegation between the two. And I think this is crucial. You have to have that. You can't have a scenario where India can't be relegated, for example, that there has to be real life jeopardy. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And that gives you your minimum tests. You say that every series has to be 3 tests. That means that every nation should get a minimum of 9 tests a year on average, which is sort of fine. And if you want to go and play some other tests with teams outside of your division, or extra tests with teams in your division, whatever, go ahead and do that. Nothing's stopping you. Nothing's stopping England from scheduling matches against West Indies or Ireland or Zimbabwe or Afghanistan. No, they probably would. England do it at the moment already, don't they? They play
Zimbabwe.
They played New Zealand in at least 2 series that haven't counted towards the World Test Championship points.
Yeah, but that's
table.
New Zealand. That's different. I mean, Zimbabwe take, but I mean, that makes sense from the World Test Championship.
Why is it different?
And that as the scrutiny of the tournament. Well, it's different because New Zealand are.
What are we getting at the moment? I mean, there's it's effectively a closed shop where some of the nations can't ever get into the top division and don't play any, in quotes, meaningful Test cricket. All the money is kind of siphoned. I think that there's another element of this that I'm in favour of something like this happening. I think this makes a lot of sense. I think if you are going to do it, there has to be a protection for the second division in terms
Well, this
of
is
revenue sharing. Like that has to be a part
Yeah.
of it. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Otherwise, it is just closing the game off.
Well, this is what I
to
mean.
a
And I
greater or
suppose
lesser extent.
that's kind of what I sort of expect. I suppose. I mean, yeah, you
But
make
the
you make
present
good
system
points.
doesn't keep the game open.
No,
Like,
it's true. I mean, it's not good at the moment. I don't have faith in the way they would do it, that it would improve things at all. If anything, I feel like it would make it worse, because you then don't. I mean, I suppose I'm thinking maybe about those teams that are on the cusp, that are in the World Test Championship, but then might fall out. Like, unless there is some well, I mean, England could well fall out of it. That'd be quite funny. Like, unless there is like some concerted way of making sure that those smaller nations do get the big boys coming and playing cricket against them, then they're even more stuffed than they are now.
That's not a good way of doing this, though. Like, you can't. It is a fact that India, Australia, and England cannot play everyone every year. Like that.
No,
yeah,
I'm not
you've
saying
got
they
to fit in
should,
the IPL.
but I mean,
they've all
it
got
might
their own
end up
T20
going the way
tournament
where
that
they
want to
don't play
run.
anyone ever.
Well, no, but the solution to that, if you're bad, is to get into the top division. And I don't really have a problem with it. I don't really have a problem with there being an elite league like that. Nobody says, I'm an AFC Wimbledon fan. I don't get upset that Arsenal never play AFC Wimbledon, that we don't get any of the money. Like, I understand the mechanism for AFC Wimbledon getting to Arsenal's level would be winning some matches. No, it isn't, because it's the same principle, isn't it? You've got a top division, and if you get into that, you play all the big teams, and you've got a second division where you don't. And you can have a third division below that. I think this makes more sense, because if you want to grow the game and you want other nations to play Test cricket, maybe you want just Netherlands and Scotland to join the party at some point soon. And they probably both would be interested in that if it was financially viable, playing some Test cricket. At the moment, the way to make it financially viable is for some reason England to decide that they would play Netherlands and Scotland at Test cricket. And that's never going to happen. Like, that's just not. Why would England do that? It would be a completely pointless exercise. It's almost a pointless exercise than playing Ireland. Like, they're not really competitive matches, are they?
Maybe the utopia that you're arguing for. Maybe the utopia you're arguing for, Jack, is a good idea, and that would work. But we don't have the information about whether that's what they're going to do.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming that is what they're sort of thinking, though, isn't it? I mean, what are there 12 Test nations at the moment?
You know what they're like, and they just want to see more Ashes and more BGT series, because they think that's what makes them money. I mean, I'm being the cynic here. Like,
if you do that,
the way I read it.
If you do that, but you say 15% of the monny has to go to the smaller nations, or 20% of the money.
Yeah, it went well last time they did the revenue sharing, didn't it?
But everyone, not everyone wins. I mean, I'm sure someone will find a way to find a loser in this. Like, Ireland actually don't ever get to play England. Crimea River to some extent, you know. Like, if you said to the top 7 teams, here is a way that you can earn more money by playing each other, and you said to the next 7 teams down, here is a way that you can have more money because we will be able to generate more money from the top 7 playing each other. Are you both happy? I think a lot of them would say yes. And you've got to think about like where Test cricket sits in this, you know, the cricketing landscape.
Which
like,
is all.
You are going to have to think about windows to play these games.
That's what they're coming up with, right? But you're arguing for something which currently doesn't exist. That's all I'm saying.
But isn't this what they're trying to do? Like to make something like this?
We don't know. They're going to have a chat about it, and let's hope that that's what they come out with. But I'm going to hold my breath on that one, to be honest. I mean, we've seen how the revenue sharing's gone before, and it's gone. Oh, the BCCI will have most of it because we make most of the money. And
but that's how it works at the moment in Test cricket as well.
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm saying. That's not good, is it? That doesn't solve the problem that we need.
It isn't sustainable to have a world where effectively every nation limps along until India come and you get a bumper TV deal, or if you're lucky enough to be a tourist destination, loads of the Barmy Army turn up and spend money buying tickets to your actual stadium. Like, that's the way to make money in Test cricket. Like, if you are, and I don't know what Jay Shah is up to. Maybe he does just want to make Test cricket a 3-team sport. Like, and I disagree with that. But if you are thinking about the long-term sustainability of the format, which you should be thinking about if you're a Test cricket fan,
Yep.
This is probably closer to the most likely and best reality that you can expect in the future. The idea that everyone will only play Test cricket 12 months a year and there'll be plenty of time to fit in all these random series where England go and play Zimbabwe, that's what happened in 2003, except England wouldn't go to Zimbabwe in 2003. Like it's I reckon 2003 was the last time England played a non-top 10 Test nation in more than a one-off Test. I think that was England v Zimbabwe. I think they played a 2-Test series in England. That's how long. And India and Australia won't have done. You can throw them in that same basket. Like it is not happening at the moment that there is an equitable way to organise this game. If you want to think about how that changes, probably divisions is the way to go with revenue sharing. Ross,
I think as long as there's 3-game series, I'm so bored of the 2-game series. There needs to be 3-game series, and every single country cannot lose money when it's hosting Test match cricket.
Yeah.
That has to be the bare minimum for doing those things, with clear rewards, clear revenue share, max. I think that transparency around it all. India are always going to get the biggest slice of the pie because they do earn the most money right from it, but there has to be a bigger chunk going towards everything else. And it probably can't just sustain men's cricket as well. There has to be, if you want to grow the women's game, and there's loads of big steps have been taken in the last 5 years around that, then actually that revenue share has to go further than just Test match cricket. But ultimately, short form cricket is the biggest game in town now, rather than Test match cricket, and they are trying to find a way to keep both.
Yeah. I hope it is like what you're proposing, Jack, and that it's a way to ensure that the smaller teams do get a better share of the pie, and at the same time get a chance to grow, and that we do get a more condensed, I suppose, top league. But the fact that it's in the spectre of battling against stopping people playing white ball cricket over red ball cricket makes me think it's less about that and more about just trying to get more money into Test cricket for the big boys, because they're the ones that they don't want to stop playing Test cricket. But
I am definitely about that as well. Don't get me wrong. It is definitely about making more money.
But if that's what they're focused on, then I'm concerned that it's not going to end up with a revenue sharing thing like it would need, because if the idea is to make more money and you want revenue sharing, then a lot of that money needs to go to someone else. And if the idea is to make money, they're not going to give it to someone else. But it's all speculation because we don't know what it is. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens. I think there are case studies in other sports, albeit at a club level or franchise level mostly, where revenue sharing has worked and where agreements that have basically facilitated the best teams playing each other more often and generating more money have also benefited smaller teams.
Yeah.
But we will see. Who knows? It's cricket. Probably it'll be done.
Right people to do it.
At least the administrators are finally earning their money under their Rolexes that they wear. At least they're trying to do something about it. Anyway,
well, they're just going to try and buy some more Rolexes.
What an enjoyable episode!
Yeah, good.
All sorts of content.
Yeah. All right, we've got this white ball stuff coming up. Champions Trophy. Haven't had one of them for a while, have we? I don't know if we've ever covered a Champions Trophy on this podcast.
I'm not sure we have. No.
It's very exciting.
Breaking new ground on the cricket podcast.
And we do. England India will be interesting, and India have said we're going to just rest all of our players, so that's going to be. But England might actually stand a chance.
Maybe it'll be a brave new dawn. It's Baz McCullum's first white ball series, isn't it? So we'll see. Anyway, we're going to take a break from the podcast, and that will last days. And then we'll be back. We've still got to do the quiz for 2024, and we want to do that soon. Otherwise, it'll be really long ago that we'll be thinking about that. So we'll find a time to get that in and get that out to you, hopefully fairly soon. Goodbye.